Ladies, let me tell you something right now. A lot of women out here, y'all start panicking when a man gets quiet. He don't text back fast. He ain't calling like he used to. And suddenly your mind goes, he's ignoring me. But what if I told you he's not pulling away, he's falling in? You might think he's ignoring you. He used to call every morning, text throughout the day, and now it feels like the rhythm is off. You're left wondering what happened. Your instincts start sending danger signals. You start doubting your worth, overanalyzing every interaction, assuming the worst. But let me give you a different perspective. He's not ignoring you. He's starting to fall for you. See, what a lot of women don't realize is that men don't always respond to emotions the way women do. When a man starts catching real feelings for a woman, it doesn't always look like increased affection right away. Sometimes it looks like silence. It looks like confusion. It looks like him stepping back for a moment, not because he's losing interest, but because something inside him is shifting, and that shift is heavy. When a man is in the early stages of falling, he starts to feel something deeper than attraction. It's no longer just fun or flirtation. Now it matters. And that's where things get real for him, because if it matters, then there's a risk of getting hurt, a risk of not being enough, a risk of falling hard and not being caught. So instead of leaning in right away, some men retreat into their own mind. They pull back to figure it out. They get quiet not because they don't care, but because they care too much and don't know how to deal with that yet. This isn't a man playing games. This isn't some childish tactic to get you to chase him. This is deeper than that. It's emotional conflict. It's a man asking himself questions like, am I ready for this? Can I trust her with what I'm feeling? What if she's not feeling the same way? These are questions he doesn't ask with just any woman. He asks them when you're different, when you matter, when he's falling. And during that time, he might not know what to say. He might not want to say the wrong thing, so he says nothing. He might need space, not because he wants distance from you, but because he's sorting through something within himself. You see, for women, talking about emotions is often natural. It's how you process. For men, it's the opposite. We internalize. We go silent. That silence isn't rejection, it's self-reflection. Now, that doesn't mean you sit around and wait forever. No, it means don't rush to label his behavior as disinterest before you understand the deeper reason. Watch his actions over time. A man who is falling but confused will return. And when he does, he'll come back with more clarity and intention. The key is not to overreact in that quiet moment. Don't chase. Don't blow up his phone demanding explanations. Don't feed the fear that's already spinning in his head. Instead, remain centered. Show him that you're solid, stable, and not easily shaken. That calm presence speaks louder than words. A man falling for you is learning to move from independence to intimacy. He's learning to move from protecting his heart to opening it. And trust me, that is not easy for every man, especially if he's been hurt before, especially if he's never had a woman who made him feel this kind of way. When you're the first woman to make him question his old ways, his old mindset, his old rhythm, that's going to shake him. He's already, that's going to make him pause. But here's the part you've got to hold on to. That pause doesn't mean he's walking away. It often means he's slowing down because what's forming between you is real. And he wants to make sure he handles it right. He's not going to rush into something he's serious about. He wants to know he's doing it with the right woman. He's checking to see if you're someone who can handle him in the quiet moments just as much as the romantic ones. This is when your value shines through, because the woman who can stay poised while he's in that reflective space is the woman who wins. The one who doesn't jump to conclusions or take everything personal, that's rare. And when he realizes that you're not just patient, but strong and understanding, that's when it clicks for him. That's when he says to himself, she's not like the rest. So when he gets quiet, when the calls slow down, when the energy shifts a little, don't assume he's slipping away. He might just be falling deeper than he ever expected. He might be trying to hold back the flood of emotions because it's new, it's scary, and it's real. And real love, it demands vulnerability. It demands courage. And for a man who's never been taught how to be vulnerable, that courage takes time to build. But don't think for a second that you're being ignored. You're being noticed, just in a deeper, quieter way. You've got his attention not just on the surface, but in his soul. You've touched something in him that's making him think differently. That's making him question what he wants, who he wants it with, and whether he's finally ready to step up and claim it. He's not ignoring you, he's processing you. He's digesting what it means to have found someone who makes him feel something real. And the man who's truly falling will always circle back. He won't leave things hanging. He'll come back not just with words, but with actions. He'll come back more present, more invested, more sure. So while you're tempted to doubt your worth, remember this: real love makes people pause. It makes them consider. It makes them reflect. And sometimes it even makes them retreat for a moment, not to run away, but to find the courage to go all in. That silence you're hearing, it might just be the sound of a man falling in love in the only way he knows how: quietly, deeply, completely. You ever notice how a man starts pulling back just when things seem to be getting good? You've been talking consistently, texting late into the night, sharing your thoughts, and then all of a sudden, he goes quiet. The phone doesn't ring as often, the texts slow down, and that energy that felt so secure starts to waver. Your first thought? He's ignoring me. But what if he's not pulling away at all? What if that silence, that space, is him falling for you in ways he never expected? Falling in love isn't just romantic, it's scary. And for men, especially those who've been through heartbreak or never had a safe space to express their emotions, it can be overwhelming. When a man starts falling for you, it's not always fireworks and poetry. Sometimes it's silence. That silence isn't rejection. That's the sound of his mind racing, his heart catching up to something it wasn't prepared for. It's the internal struggle between how he's always been and how you make him want to be different. See, when a man meets a woman who shakes up his world, who makes him feel seen in ways he didn't know he needed, it doesn't just excite him, it frightens him. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've awakened something deep. You've touched a part of him that's been locked away. And now he's sitting with that, trying to make sense of it all. He's wondering, what's happening to me? Because for the first time, this connection feels real. It feels like something he doesn't want to mess up. That fear of messing up, that's what creates the pause. That's what makes him step back, not to lose you, but to figure out how not to. He knows this isn't just another casual moment. This isn't another fling. You make him want to be better, to show up right. And when a man realizes he's got something real in front of him, it forces him to confront himself. That confrontation isn't easy. It brings up all the insecurities, the self-doubt, the past failures. He starts thinking about whether he's truly enough, whether he can be consistent, whether he can lead, protect, and love the way you deserve Now, from your side, it just looks like he went cold, and I understand that silence hurts, especially when you've started to care. But if you only look at the surface, you'll miss the truth. That quiet moment is often the turning point, the moment when his heart is working overtime to decide whether to protect itself or to hand itself over. You are not being ignored, you're being considered deeply and seriously. You're being evaluated, not for rejection, but for commitment. This stage is fragile. If you start chasing him during this time, demanding clarity before he's ready to give it, you might push him further into confusion. But if you stay grounded, if you give him the room to wrestle with his emotions without adding pressure, you'll show him a kind of strength most women never offer. That kind of strength, that's magnetic. That's the kind of energy a man remembers, because it tells him you're not desperate, you're not insecure, you're not going to collapse just because he needs a moment to breathe. Men fall in love differently than women. While women often open up through communication, men often open up through contemplation. We don't always need to talk about our feelings to feel them. Sometimes we need to sit with them. We need silence to understand them. And in that silence, if you can hold your ground, you allow love to grow on its own terms. Don't get me wrong. If he disappears for weeks without a word, if he leaves you hanging with no effort or accountability, that's not a man falling in love. That's a man playing games, and you need to move on from that. But if the man has shown you genuine interest, if you've built something real, and he takes a step back to think, that's not abandonment. That's processing. He's weighing things. He's trying to figure out how to merge the man he's been with the man you make him want to become. You want a man who doesn't just fall for you, but who understands what falling for you means. And sometimes that understanding comes in the quiet, in the thinking, in the long drives, the nights alone, the moments when he's not texting because he's too busy envisioning what life with you really looks like. He's trying to get it right. And that's not ignoring you. That's him choosing to be intentional rather than impulsive. So when you feel that pause, take a breath. Don't panic. Reflect on what you know about him. Has he been honest with you? Has he been present before this moment? Has he shown you care in his actions? If the answer is yes, then that pause doesn't mean he's pulling away. It means he's slowing down because he sees something real. And real things deserve patience, not pressure. Let him come to you, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you know your worth. Let him return when his heart catches up with his head. And when he does, he'll come back more certain. He'll come back ready. And you won't have to ask him what's going on, because he'll show you with his presence, with his consistency, and with the way he finally speaks the words he was too overwhelmed to say before. He's not ignoring you. He's just learning how to love you in his way, in his time. And if it's real, he'll come back stronger, surer, and more sincere than ever. When a man starts falling for you, it's not always loud. It's not always filled with grand gestures, flowers, and poetic declarations. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it feels like distance. And to you, that shift might seem like he's ignoring you, but in reality, that silence may be the most honest expression of what he's feeling. Because for a man who isn't used to dealing with real emotion, when love creeps in, it shakes up everything he thought he knew. When he first met you, everything probably felt light, fun, and easy. The conversations flowed, the laughter was natural, and there was no pressure. Just excitement. But somewhere along the line, something shifted. He started caring, really caring, and that changed the game. Suddenly, it wasn't just about passing time anymore. Now it was about the future, about vulnerability, about being seen. And for a man, especially one who's been through heartbreak or never learned how to express his emotions, that realization hits hard. not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet internal struggle that you might never see unless you know what to look for. That's where the silence comes in. That's where the messages slow down. The calls that used to come every night, now they're inconsistent. And you understandably start to question what's going on. But here's the truth most people don't say out loud. Men don't always fall in love with confidence. Sometimes they fall in love with fear. Not fear of you, but fear of what love demands. Because to love a woman deeply means putting your ego aside. It means breaking habits. It means showing parts of yourself that have been hidden for years. And that's not easy. So instead of running straight toward you with open arms, he pauses. He takes a step back, not to leave you, but to process. He's asking himself questions. Questions like, is this too good to be true? Can I really be what she needs? What if I open up and she doesn't feel the same? Those questions come from a place of respect. He respects you enough not to rush into something he's not prepared to maintain. He respects what's growing between you enough to want to handle it with care. And it's in that space, during that silence, that he's trying to work out the answer. You might not hear from him every hour. You might not get those morning texts for a few days, but his mind is on you. He's not ghosting you. He's growing emotionally, internally, silently. That silence isn't a signal of retreat. It's a man dealing with the weight of something real, something meaningful, something he wasn't ready for, but now can't ignore. You might be tempted to interpret his silence as rejection, to question your worth, to think you've done something wrong, but don't. Don't allow temporary confusion to convince you of permanent unworthiness, because here's what's likely true. You've reached a part of him that no one else has, and that depth of connection has him both drawn in and overwhelmed, not because he doesn't care, but because he cares more than he expected. And this isn't about playing hard to get. This isn't about games. This is about emotional survival. If he's never been taught how to love, how to be emotionally vulnerable, then falling for you is going to feel like unfamiliar territory. And in unfamiliar territory, people slow down, they tread carefully, not because they don't want to move forward, but because they don't want to misstep. It takes maturity on your part to hold steady in that moment, to give him the grace to sort through what's going on inside him. That doesn't mean you wait around forever. That doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior. It means you pay attention to the difference between a man who is confused because he's falling and a man who's careless because he's never planning to. There's a big difference. One is battling himself. The other is playing you. Learn to see the difference, and you'll protect your heart while still allowing space for something real to develop. Men don't always talk when they're feeling. Some shut down. Some go silent. That silence isn't always cold. It's protective. It's their way of sorting through feelings they don't yet have the language for. And if he's falling for you, that silence might be him trying to put those feelings into words before he brings them to you. He wants to come back to you not confused, not unsure, but ready to express what he's been holding back, ready to step forward without hesitation. And when he comes back, pay attention, not to the words, but to the effort, to the consistency, to the way he looks at you like he's seeing you for the first time. Because that's what love does. It changes a man's vision. He starts to see clearly. And you'll feel it in the way he speaks, in the way he stays, in the way he stops letting fear lead him and starts letting love guide him. So don't always fear the silence. Sometimes that silence is the sound of transformation. Sometimes it's the sound of a man falling, not recklessly, but fully, quietly, but completely. And if it's real, you won't have to guess for long. He'll return. And when he does, he won't just tell you how he feels. He'll show you. When a man starts to fall in love, his behavior doesn't always make sense on the surface. One day he's consistent, present, invested in getting to know you, making time for you, sharing laughs, texting good morning and good night. Then, without warning, things slow down. He stops texting as much. He takes longer to respond. He becomes quieter, more distant. And you, sitting on the other side of that silence, start to feel it deep in your chest. You ask yourself, why is he pulling away? Is he losing interest? Is he ignoring me? But the truth is, he's not ignoring you. He's falling, and he's trying to figure out what to do with that. Men aren't always raised to understand what falling in love feels like. Society teaches men to be strong, to avoid vulnerability, to keep their emotions guarded. So when something real begins to form, when a connection starts turning into something more, his instinct isn't always to embrace it. Sometimes it's to retreat. Because for him, love doesn't just mean affection and excitement. It means responsibility. It means showing up in ways he may not feel ready for. And it means being seen in a way that is completely raw and unprotected. That's a lot for any man who's not used to being emotionally open. He doesn't always have the tools to explain what's happening inside of him. So instead of words, you get silence. Instead of emotional sharing, you get distance. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares more than he expected to. When love hits a man unexpectedly, it makes him question everything he thought he knew. He starts looking at you differently. Not as a fling, not as a distraction, but as someone who could change the entire trajectory of his life. And that's where the fear creeps in. Fear of not being enough. Fear of getting it wrong. Fear of losing you once he's all in. He begins running scenarios in his head, playing out what this could become, and whether he's capable of stepping up to the level this love requires. And that overthinking, that analyzing, doesn't always look like emotional investment. It looks like withdrawal. It looks like unanswered text, missed calls, and blank expressions. But underneath that quiet is a man in emotional motion, even if he doesn't know how to express it. He's not ignoring you to hurt you. He's quiet because he's overwhelmed. He's quiet because he's trying to figure out if he's ready to be the kind of man you deserve. He's asking himself whether he can meet the standard you